Hey y'all, I'm Lucy Monroe and this is my first time doing, I guess it's called Facebook Live. My daughter told me I should do this. I talk kind of fast and well, I guess you're gonna have to get used to that because that's what I do. Maybe that's why I write so fast, or at least I used to. I haven't in the last few years and sorry about that, guys. But I have been writing lately and I'm excited to tell you that I think I'm going to be done with Costa's Convenient Bride in the next maybe 2 weeks. So, yay! This is my office and this is where most of the edits get done, not the raw writing, because I don't raw write on the computer. I raw write on a Dana, which, I have one around here. Hold on. We're going into the annex, which is where I keep stuff. This is what I do most of my raw writing on. Just thought I'd show you. Anyway, that's what I do. I write like anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 words at a time, and then I'll upload to the computer, and then I print out the pages, then I edit, then I go back to writing more. Does that sound exciting? I don't know. People always ask me, how do you write? That's how I write. I love my office. There's a lot of inspiration around me. It's important to me to have a beautiful environment to write. And, gosh, this feels so weird. I feel like I'm just talking to space. But that's okay. This space for me is my oasis. And I've gotten hundreds of emails and letters from readers over the year that tell me my books are their oasis. So thank you to everyone who's ever said that to me, because it means the world. And it's why I write what I write, because I write to connect to readers at a heart level, and it means everything to me that I've managed to do that. I'm a little nervous, can you tell? I'm not used to this whole live thing. There's no practice, there's no interview questions. This is something really different for me, but I want to try to do it kind of regularly, so we'll see how that goes. I was telling my daughter yesterday, I cleaned, sort of organized my bookcases. I'm a little OCD. I don't know if you can tell that in my writing, but it bugs me when things are out of place or if there's things that aren't supposed to be there. So it's kind of good for you though, because I found some ARCs, you know, advanced reader copies, and they should have been given away years ago. And so these are really rare, and there's no way you're going to find them anywhere but here. And I'm going to be giving them away off of my Facebook page, as well as a couple of ebooks that are on disc, and just things that are like I have one-offs of, and just to get them off of my bookshelves, because I'm like, these things are not like the other. Oh, and that's another thing about me. Life is a musical. It's an off-key musical because I don't carry a tune in a bucket, but that's my life. And my grandkids kind of think it's funny. Grandma bursts into song a lot. My kids think it's really funny that their mom bursts into song a lot. And it's just kind of what I do. Oh, thanks WriterSpace for sharing this video. I think it's really cool that you guys are doing that for me, because probably no one else would see it. This is just so new to me. It's such a different thing, and I spent a long time not online, so we're rebuilding that rapport with readers again to let them know I'm here and that I'm available.
Morgana says she loves your books.
Thanks, Morgana. That was super sweet and kind of you. I am really excited to be writing again and to get those stories out again and to share. You know, I love romance and I love what I write, and to share it with readers really means it means a lot, and it means a lot that you all get what I get, that you care about the things I care about, that you want to read about the things that I want to write about. You know, that's always been really important to me, and it's just so neat to know that that's still true.
Debbie says hi.
Hi, Debbie.
And Kelly says, you rock and love seeing you on here.
Kelly, very good to see you, and ditto.
And then Morgana has a question. Do your kids think it's weird that you write for a living?
Do my kids think it's weird that I write for a living? Well, my daughter is holding the camera, so I will ask her, do you think it's weird I write for a living?
Not at all. It's inspiring.
She says, not at all. It's inspiring. And actually, my kids have all been really supportive of my career. When they were young, I hadn't adopted my oldest yet. My son and daughter were in 5th and 6th grade when I sold my first book. And I'm not ashamed to say that to get buy-in on Mom's career, I told them whenever I sold a book, they got $10. Doesn't sound like much, does it? But, it was like it worked. They thought that was the coolest thing ever. So when Mom got a contract, and they got money.
Bribery at its finest.
Yeah, the bribery at its finest, and it totally worked. Do you
want to speak on sharing that you write sexy romance as a mom?
Ooh, yeah. Writing sexy romance as a mom. One of the reasons I write under a pseudonym, which is my middle name and my maiden name, so y'all know that, is because I wanted my kids to have privacy in grade school and middle school and high school, and not feel like, get teased by their peers because their mom wrote sexy romance, and not have to deal with invasion into their world from my world. So I kept a very strict demarcation between who I was in my personal life and who I was in my public life. So Lucy Monroe, who I am, and their mom did not, they didn't coexist, right, when the kids were little.
Until we blabbed.
Yeah, they did blab.
Because we
like
to brag.
And they did brag. And they were never ashamed of the fact that Mom wrote sexy romance. It never bothered them. They actually didn't get teased about it, which I was really happy. I was never ashamed of sex. We talked about sex. I was the mom who told her kids about sex at an early age. I think it's a very healthy thing to do. I think that in a healthy family, it's a great thing. I'm not saying every family has to handle it the way we did. I totally don't believe that. But in my family, it was important to be honest and to be open about things. And so, yeah, my kids could ask me anything in that nature. They could ask their dad anything in that nature. And the neighbor kids asked my kids. So there you have it. But yeah, it was okay. And I know not all of my friends handled things the way I handled it. Some of them actually hid from their kids what they wrote until their kids were much, much older. I will say that my kids were not allowed to read my books until they were 17. I'm not saying they didn't sneak, but that was the rule. They also weren't allowed to read John Grisham until they were 17. They weren't allowed to read, the violent books until they were 17. Because I had strict rules about what movies they could see and what books they could read. And my daughter is nodding her head. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because
we couldn't watch Aladdin. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I just felt like, they had to have mature minds to take in mature subjects. And when I got reader letters from readers that were under the age of 17, I was kind but firm with them, telling them they needed to tell their parents they were reading books that were maybe beyond their years, but that I really appreciated the fact that they were reading my books, but that maybe they needed to be looking at, and I would give them suggestions for authors that might be more appropriate. And I tried to say it in a way that wasn't condescending. I never got back a nasty letter from a young reader, so hopefully I never offended any of them.
Yana says, we miss you, Lucy.
Aw, thank you. I am trying so hard to be present again and to get my books out again and to be there for my readers. I'm sorry for the years I had to take off. It's been tough. It's been really, really hard. I've been struggling a lot with working through, issues, and I think I'm on the other side, but it has been a tough, tough road.
So a lot of reader letters have to do with Children of the Moon. Do you want to address that at all?
I will. I love my Children of the Moon series. I'm not going to pretend it didn't break my heart when Berkley canceled it. I understand why they did. The publishing world, it just sort of imploded many years ago. There were just a lot of things happening. It wasn't just ebooks, and please don't try to think it was. It wasn't. There was so much going on. Amazon was only a part of it. There was just a lot happening with malls, with the way things were going on with the bricks and mortar bookstores, with the way people were buying, and the publishing industry was impacted in a huge way, and book buying habits changed. And all of a sudden, my books that were selling at about 40,000 dropped. Dragon's Moon, unbeknownst to me, and the publisher did not tell me, the sales dropped to like 7,000, which is like boom, you know. What they told me was, hey, we don't want the series anymore. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the industry. I don't know if it was what was going on with book buyers. I don't know, because the number of book buyers in this country shrank. You know, at one point there were 200, then there were 40, then there were 10. I don't know. I can't answer what happened. All I know is my readers still love my books. They were emailing and saying, we want the next book. But my publisher was saying, we don't want another Children of the Moon book. We want a time travel book. I don't write time travel. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't say the genre's bad. I'm just saying it's not what I write. They were open to another paranormal, but at that point I felt really betrayed. It's not Berkley's fault. But just the way everything went down, I felt so lost. I couldn't come up with another paranormal series. I didn't want to let go of Children of the Moon. I was just broken. My heart was just shattered. I had books that needed to be, stories that needed to be told. I had set up the next book, and they're telling me no. And they didn't tell me no until I'd already turned in a book that set up the next book. So I couldn't close it off for my readers. I felt like I was betraying my readers. It was so hard. And I'm probably telling y'all way too much. This is just, man, I'm sorry. But I want to write more Children of the Moon. I'm not going to say I don't. I do. I don't know when I can. I don't know if I can. Do I want to? Yes. Do I have the stories? Yes. I just don't know if I can. I don't know if that will... Right now, I am grateful I'm writing at all. I just have had so many setbacks, and I've had a lot of things happening in the last few years. But do I feel an obligation to my readers to finish that series? To at least write one, if not two, final stories to give them some closure? Yes. So that's where I'm at. That's where my heart is at. But I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it'll be for another publisher, if I'll have to self-publish them. I don't know if they'll be long books, if they'll be short books. I really don't know. I still want to write Duke's brother story. There's a single contemporary Children of the Moon story that I had put into it was a novella for Berkley, and they said they would try to find another anthology to put his brother's story into, and they never did. And it's not their fault. Again, it's not the publisher's fault that our world kind of imploded. But the world did change. But I am aware of what my readers want, and I care very much about all of you. And if I can write your stories, I will.
Francine says, Lucy, you were the very first author I ever followed. I adore your books.
Oh, Francine, hi. It's so good to have you here. And thank you. Thank you so much, because I know what that means. Julie Garwood was the very first author I ever glommed. She was the very first author I ever wrote read as an author and not a series. I read Harlequin Presents as a series for years. I read a Silhouette, Desires, and I read, I think, what was it? Harlequin Romance. I love them. But Julie Garb was the first author that I recognized as an author that I wanted to read all of her books. And I went back to the library and I checked out all of her books. And then I ended up buying every one of her books. And I have all of her books on my shelves downstairs. And one of these times we'll do this in my library. And I'll show you all of my books that I have in physical. On my e-reader, I have an additional about 5,000, 6,000 books. But downstairs in my physical library, I think I have about 5,000, 6,000 books. And those are all books that I reread. The books I don't reread, I get rid of. So in my lifetime, I can't tell you how many books I've read. When I was a child, I started from the beginning of the library and I read all the way around to the very end of the library at my grade school and then again at my middle school. By the time I got to high school, I was a lot pickier about what I read. But
Glenda says hi from Kentucky.
Hi, Glenda. Thanks and welcome.
Do you want to open up the floor to questions?
I would love any questions y'all want to ask. I'm happy to answer them. Very happy to. If it's about writing, reading, anything.
Just comment below the video to ask questions.
Oh yeah, just comment below the video. I'm so sorry. My daughter's given me hints on how to do this thing that I don't know how to do because it's so new to me. And
Christy says, love your books. I've read The Real Deal so many times. Now you mentioned before in an interview that The Real Deal was based on Auntie M a little bit, that the heroine reminded you of her. What about her reminded you of your sister?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Christy. And I love The Real Deal. It's one of my very, very favorite books. And I think it's kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it because on The Real Deal, the heroine reminds me of my sister, my baby sister Mona. And the hero has more of my husband in him than probably any of my heroes. So I don't know what kind of psychological stuff's going on there, guys. But
oh, small.
I know my daughter is just freaking out over here because it just hit me. But no, the heroine is, for one thing, she's so feisty. Most of my heroines are feisty, but my baby sister is a feisty woman. She's got a t-shirt. It's got a shark on it. It says, "Bite me." That's my sister. Okay. She's she's adorable. I love my baby sister, but she's so feisty and she's strong. She's smart. And that heroine, she's so smart. She is, the way she figures stuff out is kind of how my sister's mind works. She figures out how to make things work, you know, because she's the youngest in the family, and I think everyone else thinks they're the fixers, that they're going to figure out all the problems, and they're always telling her how to, but she's really one who knows the answers. And if you give her a chance, my sister will tell you, this is really how you can fix X, Y, and Z. And I think that's what reminds me, because this heroine, she comes off as kind of quiet at first when you first meet her in the book. And you don't expect her to be as feisty as she is. You don't expect her to have the depth that she has. And when you meet my sister, she comes off as kind of quiet and kind of shy. But when you get to know her, hello. She is very feisty. She's very strong-willed. And she's kind of bossy. And I like it. So anyway, yeah.
So Morgana wants to know, do you read only romance?
I don't. It is my very favorite. So obviously it is the majority of what I read. I love nonfiction, especially historical stuff, like, books on ancient Egypt or whatever period of history I'm interested in at the moment. I love mystery. I have all of Agatha Christie's books, but I also have like Ray Bradbury. I love science fiction. One of my favorite authors still to this day is Anne McCaffrey. Although she, of course, is passed, I still adore reading and rereading her books. I do like some fantasy, not all, because I want a victorious ending. I don't read horror, although I know a lot of people see the parallel between the two, because they're between romance and horror, because of the emotional connection in the story. I love biographies. Oh, I love biographies. I find them so inspiring and encouraging and educational. I read textbooks. I like textbooks. I love to learn. I read the dictionary. I love words. People will joke because they say that my books have my own, vocabulary in it, and my readers don't need me to, what is that term? Dumb down my books. Nobody needs dumbing down of books. That's silly. Readers are readers, so they have a vocabulary. Yeah.
Francine wants to know, how are those grandbabies doing?
Oh my goodness. We've got 4 of them downstairs right now, and they're doing great. 2 are in school right now, and then we've got the 4-year-olds downstairs playing. No, we only have 3 of them downstairs. Sorry. And the baby. And with my other daughter, she's downstairs, the oldest, and they're all doing really good. They, each has their own challenges and triumphs, and they're just kind of amazing. And I love being a grandmother. And it's funny because, everyone always says you love being a grandmother more than being a parent, but I loved being a mom of small children, of big children, whatever. I still love being a mom of adult children. I love being a mom, and I adore being a grandmother. So I really am not sure that you could love being a grandma more than being a mom, but I sure do love being a grandma.
Isabel Molina says, I remember you in high school.
Isabel! Hi!
You wanted to become an author or president of the United States. Do you remember that?
I do remember, and considering who our president is now, I think I picked the right path. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I've offended anyone. I know I'm not supposed to get political on here, but no, when I was, my husband and I had not had our son yet, but we had just had him actually. And I was still thinking I would go into the path of the Oregon Senate, move my way up. And I had a talk with God in the bathtub, and I realized I couldn't take my family into the political arena. Isabel, I don't remember if I ever told you when we were in high school about my past with my mom and my dad and my brother and my sister. I have a brother who was a heroin addict for almost 4 decades, and I have a sister who had her own challenges as well. My oldest daughter is, I adopted her, and she was my sister's. And I realized my dad was abusive, and he was an alcoholic, and there was just so much in my past and so much pain and so much ugliness. I couldn't go into the political arena without bringing my whole family with me, and I'm not just talking my kids, and it wasn't fair, and I couldn't do it. So I just knew it wouldn't, in what was true back then and what is definitely true today in the American political arena, it wouldn't have worked. And so I took a different path, and I like the path I took. I definitely have touched a lot of lives. And I've done my own personal things. We've given given homes to homeless kids, and I've done lay counseling for women for, since almost the year after my husband and I got married, and we've been married almost 29 years. So yeah, the world is what you make of it, I guess. But it's so great to see you, Isabel.
Do you think that there was any link between wanting to be president and wanting to write romance in terms of influence?
Yeah, I think definitely I have always wanted to make the world a better place. And I think writers get to create a world and we get to write the ending of the world we create. So there's that. But there's also, in every book we write, we influence the people who read it. And we influence the world through the books we write. And I think there's a tremendous responsibility. And this is not necessarily a popular viewpoint, but I believe that fiction writers have a huge responsibility to the world with the books that we write. Because what we write impacts the people that read it. So it's one of the reasons that I started introducing gay characters into my books. Mainstream. What is normal. For me, what is normal. What I believe is cool and fun. It's one of the reasons that I deal with other issues I have dealt with in my Presents books. I've dealt with a ton of women's issues, and I'm proud of that work. I'm proud of dealing with things like domestic abuse, women's sexual function, men's sexual function, dealing with mental illness, dealing with anxiety issues, dealing with things that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but so many of us have to face and overcome as challenges in our lives. I believe in those things, in dealing with those things in writing in a way that people can enjoy the book and not feel like you're getting beat over the head with a message, but yet feel like there's a victorious outcome for you if you're a struggler of that. And so, I don't just write to write, I write to touch, and I write to maybe change the world a little bit with my books. Because the world was changed for me. I mentioned my dad a little bit. I didn't see those guys that are in the books I write, right? My experience with men was not honor and the knight in shining armor. But you know what I married? I married an amazing, wonderful guy who is a knight in shining armor, who is the alpha guy at the end of a book. And I married him because I believed I could because of the books I read. So yeah, they changed the world for me, and I just hope I can change the world for other people.
Morgana says, I have Asperger's syndrome and was always the odd one out. Your characters were a way for me to lose myself and forget my issues from a few hours. And when you wrote a disabled character, it touched my heart.
Oh, Morgana, I just want to hug you, like, so much, because that's exactly why I write. And thank you so much.
Janet says, have you written anything recently?
I am about 2 weeks, I think, away from being done with Costa's Convenient Bride. I am very excited about this.
Yay! Francine says, you do write a better place. Love my life, hubby, 3 daughters, 2 son-in-laws, and 2 Chihuahua granddogs. I entertain every day while their parents work. I love how you bring difficulties into your books because it makes the storylines feel so real and not a total fantasy.
Thank you, Francine. Thank you so much.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to announce?
Right now, I'm going to leave any other announcements for later. I think this is a good point to wrap up unless anybody has any other questions. And thank you all so much for sharing time with me today. I'm excited to do this again next week sometime maybe. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. You take care.